think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me? Um,
No questions?
why would you think that I would say Floyd?
That there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now. That's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Terence Crawford firmly responded to Floyd Mayweather's assertion that he could defeat him. Yeah. Crawford declared that he would defeat Mayweather even in his prime, emphasizing that history will remember him for accepting every challenge. He insisted that no one could accuse him of avoiding opponents because he has always battled whoever stepped forward. Crawford intimated that he would not shun Mayweather if the bout were ever made possible.
Then he started going like this. And then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Dan Raphael has suggested that Terence Crawford's career has progressed to the point where fighting again is no longer necessary to solidify his reputation. He claims that Crawford's achievements are already unparalleled, as he has swept divisions, unified crowns, and dominated great opponents without showing any signs of weakness. Raphael emphasizes that once a fighter reaches this level, it is no longer about proving himself, but about defending his legacy and receiving the credit he deserves. Crawford's resume has already exceeded many people's expectations of him, and pursuing superfluous matches would do little to advance his legacy.
What does a Terence Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that, maybe that ultimate chance, if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quite. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fan. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, like fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight of the year.
The forceful way in which Terence Crawford demolished Canelo Alvarez has sparked passionate disagreement among boxing fans. Fans and commentators eagerly compared his triumph to Floyd Mayweather's victory over Canelo. While Mayweather's victory occurred when Canelo was younger and less experienced, Crawford's dominance over a more experienced version of the Mexican star has led some to question whether Crawford should be considered superior. Whoa. However, Luke Thomas has reminded fans that Crawford's career developed considerably later than Floyd's. Mayweather had already established himself as a celebrity at a young age, fighting top-tier opponents early in his career. Crawford, on the other hand, experienced delays in obtaining the limelight due to a lack of advertising and awareness.
This was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there. It's just insane.
Buddy McGirt was among Crawford's most ardent admirers following the Canelo bout, praising his performance as one of full dominance. According to McGirt, Crawford dominated the fight from the start, never letting Canelo to set the tempo or impose his normal aggressive style. He underlined that Crawford's triumph was so clear that a rematch was unnecessary, since the difference in skill and execution was obvious to everyone watching. McGirt also stated that Crawford has finally secured the legacy he has sought for years by decisively defeating a fighter of Canelo's caliber. Crawford's career now includes a trademark win, which confirms his greatness in the eyes of fans and historians alike. McGirt has nothing left to prove.
Yes.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is. And you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, nah, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those scorecards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. I mean, he's fought everybody, he's did everything, but you know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When comparing Terence Crawford to Floyd Mayweather, observers frequently point to Floyd's mental game as the deciding element that keeps him one step ahead. Many people believe Crawford is technically great, able to swap stances, react mid-fight, and crush opponents with ease. They suggest, however, that Mayweather had an additional layer of psychological control, making him much more deadly. Floyd not only fought physically, but also influenced his opponent's brains, causing them to make mistakes and forsake their strategy. The capacity to dominate before and during the fight is regarded as the primary distinction between the two. Crawford's skill set is apparent.
Hagler, Hearns. I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
RC.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it, right? The best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough. Floyd's not a bad man. But there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. Yeah. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years. But no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And he was Errol Spence.
Terence Crawford has been demonstrating his abilities for over a decade. But his low-key personality and lack of flamboyance have caused him to be disregarded by many in the boxing community. Unlike fighters who rely on overt self-promotion and theatrics, Crawford preferred to let his performances speak for themselves in the ring. While this method earned him acclaim among purists, it cost him widespread recognition in his early career. It is only now, with major battles against Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez, that the general public is starting to recognize his greatness. However, detractors contend that this acknowledgement comes too late, as Crawford is already well into his career and closer to the conclusion than the start.
Puts him on par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right, because Floyd is now has a fight coming up, I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in I believe this is going to be an exhibition.
Floyd Mayweather has often been chastised for his refusal to recognize other great boxers, frequently refusing to agree that Muhammad Ali, widely regarded as the best of all time, rates higher than him. With Terence Crawford attaining exploits comparable to Floyd's, suspicions about his ego have reappeared. Crawford's stunning victory over Canelo has ignited debate that threatens to elevate him to the same historical status as Floyd. For someone as sensitive of his legacy as Mayweather, this development is difficult to swallow. Critics claim that Floyd thrives on being seen as the sole standard of boxing brilliance. And when another combatant starts sharing that space,
Get close to him when you want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry. I know this is bad production, but we're gonna need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I know I'm thinking about Happy right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant. Go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, Bud want to be great. Where that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top and then conquer.
Sean Porter speaks with Terence Crawford about what motivated him to take on tasks that others thought he couldn't handle. Crawford admitted that for years, people questioned him and thought he was incapable of competing at the highest level. Instead of avoiding the pressure, he welcomed it and looked for ways to prove them incorrect. His victories over Spence and Canelo are not just career landmarks, but also personal vindications, ending years of doubt and contempt. Porter emphasized Crawford's determination to tackle adversity head-on, which illustrates his distinct fighting mindset. Unlike others who could have taken easier roads, Crawford aggressively targeted the most difficult opponents, wanting to prove that he belonged among the best.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best fit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd, then I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is who I seen. I seen Bud. I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stamped your legacy? We're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person. You could beat that person. You feel like you did it?
Of course. It's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books.
Yeah.
Like before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that. But hold on.
Yeah.
I know. Good job.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proving himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey, man, how do you allow people not to put their limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told them about like how you motivated me to start my own company. And come out, I remember you been in my living in my kitchen, motivated me to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on Terence Bud?
Easy. That's all for today's video. Stay tuned until the next time.